day, my dear peeps. Welcome to another episode of At Everything Goes Journey. And as you know, if you've been following, this is a personal vlog that is covering our family relocation from the Isle of Man, a UK territory, to Windermere, Florida. Windermere because that's where we are living right now. That's where we are renting. So it's the relocation from one side of the world to another, hence the name And Everything Goes, because literally everything went. So what's been going on since last week? Well, if you remember last week, I told you that I was traveling a solo girly trip to Laguna Beach in California. I took an airline that I've never heard before called Breeze. And I'm going to use the pun. Yes, I will. It was a breeze. They were really nice to fly with. They were well organized. I liked their booking system on the website. And I was not expecting much. And a couple of days before the flight, they offered me to bid on an upgrade to business class because that's all they have. And I did the bid, which was about a third of the price if I would have, well, not a third of the price. Probably, yeah, it was about a third of the price if I would have done the upgrade on the regular website. And I put the bid, the lowest possible bid, and I got it. It was kind of neat. There were 2 seats and they were kind of spacious, and I'll put some pictures while I'm talking. They were kind of spacious and they had all the chargers and everything, and snacks and drinks were included. Nothing fancy, but it was quite comfy. So you were sitting at the front of the plane. There were only 6 rows of 2, so it's only 12 seats of business class. The flight from Orlando to California to Santa Ana Airport, SNA, it took about 4 and something, almost 5 hours. But you gain time going there, which was neat because I arrived around midday and it felt like I had a very productive day with my friend. So I was only there from Wednesday to Saturday, midday to midday actually. But it was lovely. You know, when you see a friend that you have been friends with for the past 20 odd years, and it's a type of person that fits my soul, makes my soul do a happy dance. He just very sweet, no drama. She took care of me. She bought me a lot of vegan goodies, which was really amazing because I ate really good stuff. So thank you so much. I love you. Thank you for opening your house, and to you and your husband, because you are awesome. And then I came back on Saturday, and so the boys behaved really well with the puppy, and it was the first time that I left them alone since we moved. And I've been thinking these past couple of days that this is our first 4th month here, because we arrive at the end of March. So we have the end of March and April, May, June, and July. And we have accomplished a lot in these past 4 months, but we tend to get nervous still. Oh, we haven't found work yet. But then I'm thinking, well, you know what? We moved without any plans. We are still shipping our stuff. Our stuff hasn't arrived. It's due to touch land on Saturday the 18th. So after that, it might take 2 weeks for the things to get to Florida. But going back to my original thought, it's like we moved without a plan. My husband did the green card, and we moved without work, and we moved with an idea what we're gonna do for school with Luke, and we sold everything, and we packed clothing and memories, basically. That's what we did. So in 4 months, we have rented a house, we got a car. Luke was enrolled in school, now he's enrolled in another school, the one nearby our house. Luke took exams with the state of Florida that he'd never taken before. He has joined football clubs. He's done a basketball club, and I joined a gym, and we are starting to get to meet people in the community. So I mean, in 4 months we have done a lot. The point is that if you do this type of relocation from one place to another and you don't have a plan for work because you didn't do it with a company sponsoring you, etc., and you have to be patient with the market and the curve, and everything happens, and everything, how everything moves in it. And speaking with another friend of mine from the Miami area, she was saying that the employment market is extremely competitive, that a lot of people lost employment during COVID, and they had to grab whatever they could. And she was like, well, look at my husband, for example. He's working for this type of store. It might not be his dream working there, but at least it's a job. And between my job and his job, we pay our bills and we are okay. So it's trying to reach that compromise and that balance. So my husband has been applying for a lot of things. He had an interview last week. They told him that they still had a lot of people to interview, and if they were interested, they would follow up with another one. I did a lot of applications yesterday, Monday. I sat in the computer and again sent out my CV, my resume, to everything I could, and wrote cover letters. And I got an email today, big gym franchise, saying for a front desk position that I put my resume for, they would like to have a phone interview tomorrow, which is great. And that's a low stress. I get a gym membership, and hopefully I can get some hours between full-time and part-time, and also allows me to pick up look at my son at school, because I mean that for me that is a really important thing. I need to pick him up and then bring him home and do homework with him, and if I can work on either end of that is fantastic. So hopefully their hours allow me to say, okay, I enter early, leave at 2:30, go and pick up my son at school, or I can do after homework in the evening because the gym is open, ridiculous hours some evenings. So let's see what works. I like fitness, so I can bring a passion to it, and I'm all smiley for customers, stuff like that, and it seems to be like a low stress job, which is what I'm looking for. So let's see what happens. So in all these situations, I've been thinking about what is quality of life and what is cost of living, because I was comparing with my friend when I was visiting her in California, and she lives on the Laguna Beach area, and we were talking about how expensive cost of life is. However, their quality of life is quite high, because they have this excellent weather and a lot of outdoor activities, and is very open for walking trails, and if you balance yourself, of course, you can have an excellent quality of life. And make me think, how would you compare the Isle of Man, Douglas area where we live, to Windermere area in Florida, where we are living now? And it's kind of interesting. So I'm gonna go take a step back and use gasoline, petrol, as we call it in the UK. So petrol in the Isle of Man would be sold by the liter, and where it's sold by the gallon here. So in the Isle of Man and here, it is almost a third more of the amount than Florida. So right now you can get a gallon in Florida in certain places for $3.59. In Laguna Beach, when I was visiting my friend, I spotted $5.59, $5.60. And she was explaining it's because they have a lot of local taxes as well in the county, and city taxes and everything that get built into the price. So imagine in Florida, $337, $370. In some places you might find areas that are $4. And then the liters in the Isle of Man, the liter in the Isle of Man right now, the current price is 1.45 sterling, which if you convert it into dollars, cost at least 70% of the price of a gallon here in the US. So there is big difference. So I started comparing cost of life, and on the main things, and I'm on the computer, of course. So, I mean, I'm going to read you some statistics because I am not going to retain everything in my head. And Windermere, Florida, the housing is probably one of the most expensive things, okay? So housing, the medium home can hover between $860,000 and $930,000, and that's the medium price. You get properties that are less than that, but these are sale prices, and you do have a lot of luxury communities. However, the monthly rent for an apartment, for a 3-bedroom apartment, can go to $2,500. And then if you're a property owner, you have very high property taxes. In Douglas, you can rent for the equivalent of $2,300 a month for a similar size of property. You don't have very volatile prices right now, and so it seems to have a lower price per square foot than here in Windermere, if you're going to be a property owner. One thing about it as well is that in the Isle of Man, there is no sales tax. So when you sell your property, there is no sales tax that you have to be aware of or cover. Here, yes, there is sales tax that gets involved in a real estate transaction when you're buying or selling. Everyday living expenses here in Windermere is a little bit higher than the national average. However, you have the offset that Florida doesn't have a state income tax, so your income is not taxed. As it is in other states such as California, for example. In Douglas, those day-to-day items, and I'm talking like staples like milk, bread, eggs, vegetables, things like that, are a little bit more expensive. And the reason why is that everything is shipped from the mainland or other territories into the Isle of Man, because it is, containing its own little island area, and surrounded by sea, hence it's an island, and hence it escalates the prices for the consumer. Utilities, there is a couple of things, utilities and transportation. So utilities in the Isle of Man, you have a lot of houses that you are using heating a lot of time in the year. So during the summer, you might not turn it on at all. You may use like little fans all over the place, so you're saving a lot on your utilities during the summer. However, you still have your electricity cost, but if you're using oil to heat your house, you're hardly using that. Oil or gas to heat your house, maybe you're using gas for cooking only. So during the summer, you do get a break, which is probably 1 or 2 months, let's say 6 weeks a year, 6 to 8 weeks a year, the most. The rest of the year, you are going to have your heating coming up and on and off on a cycle to keep the house warm enough. But then you have the assistance of using stoves as well as fireplaces. Of course, the ones that are still under regulation to heat up your house. So the Isle of Man can be that oil and gas can be more expensive than electricity, only in the US. Here where we are, we've seen the electricity coming in between $250 and $300 a month during the summer, because of course you're offsetting the massive heat outside. But then during the winter, it will go down because of course you're not cooling the house as often. But right now we have sort of a heating cycle, cooling cycle, not heating. Heating is in the UK. Cooling cycle set up to be to maximize energy savings. So we're working with that, and it's a hit or miss, and it's a trial. And of course, we disconnect everything from the walls every night and stuff like that. Transportation, man, in the Isle of Man, especially if you live in the Douglas area, you hardly have to use your car. You could walk everywhere. You could go for a night out, get dressed and walk back, and you will save yourself a lot of money. In Windermere, Florida, you're using your car for almost everything, to go shopping. There is nothing that is extremely walking distance or convenient to walk, because if you're going to walk for 15-20 minutes outside, you are going to melt depending on the time of the day. So you are definitely having more expenses. However, both cities, both areas do have public transportation available. But for example, here, if I wanted to take the bus in Windermere, I'll have to get myself to a major thoroughfare and then take the bus from there. So they'll require walking into it and then taking the bus. Whereas in the Isle of Man, it was a little bit more convenient, because you didn't have only the major thoroughfares, but there were some streets that the bus system will support. Income and healthcare. This is the part that, as you know, the UK has a big advantage, and is the fact that, okay, in healthcare, everything, you rely on the National Health Service, Manx Care, which is similar to supported by the NHS. It's part of the NHS. Here you have everything is out of pocket. Either you're paying for it, or it's been subsidized by the government, or it's been split with your employer. And you have high insurance premiums, you have out-of-pocket deductibles, in anything in the way. Now, the income is interesting because you do have, and I have found that the income is very similar. So again, here, if you're going to get, I think it's slightly less when it comes, if you break it down per hour, because if you are getting a very basic entry job in the Isle of Man, you might get paid 13 pounds per hour. And here, if something very entry is probably $17 per hour. If you do the conversion from one to the other, it sort of like gets to be almost the same. So, but there are certain things here that will pay you very specialized roles, especially on above me, the manager position. It can pay you over 80,000 to 100,000. And I found similar roles in the Isle of Man. For example, the role I was in, I was being paid roughly £55,000, which again, you make the conversion and it's on the lower end of the US equivalent. So it's a hit or miss, because if I would have been doing the same job somewhere in the mainland in the UK, I probably got paid more. However, it would have been offset by the fact that I may have had an additional tax on income and additional taxes to deal with. So it would basically offset what you earn. If you compare quality of life, you get a big balance depending on where you live in Florida and where you live in the UK. So comparing to Isle of Man and Windermere, where we are, Isle of Man is a very outdoorsy place, but it's rugged. You need to deal with the wind, with the weather, with the rain, and with the fact that normally most part of the year is 40 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's going to be raining and it's going to be windy, but you get these beautiful hills, beautiful landscape and things like that for you to go walk, and plantations to take your dog. Here, everything is hot during the summer, cooler during the winter, and everything's centered around lakes and oceans. And the part that we are living in Windermere gives us a little bit of different quality of life, because we have a few parks around the house with a lot of pine trees, and it makes it really nice to walk and enjoy the outside. rather than trying to drive. So we do have something that to work with our well-being at walking distance only. Douglas, capital of the Isle of Man, but again, peaceful, low crime environment, whereas we still haven't compared the crime here, but I would consider where we are living peaceful and low crime as well. In Douglas, Isle of Man, due to healthcare, we have a higher life expectancy, but if you like vibrant multicultural areas, you can feel isolated because, well, it's small, it's an island. Whereas where we are right now, you have a lot of excitement, you have choices, you can get in your car and go to a park where you can drive for an hour and get to the beach, or you can go and see museums. So there are more choices for fun, if you want to put it that way, which is probably one of the reasons that motivated my husband. And last but not least, hey, the fact that I was able to get on a plane and go to California from the airport without having to stop anywhere else is a big plus, and that it contributes to the isolation sometimes, and the what people are sort of the trade of having that beautiful quality of life in the Isle of Man and peace and quiet in the island life, but you have to live with patience and the knowledge that if you have a flight to anywhere in the world, like, well, not UK, but like France and South Africa or Tahiti, whatever it is, you have to fly to the UK or Dublin first, to the main territory first, and from there you're going to take your big flight off island. How you leave the island is you're dealing with these commuter airlines and with the ferries, and nothing is extreme, nothing is absolute, because you're dealing with island weather, and things might go or things might not go, and then that has a ripple effect with the rest of your holiday. So I wanted to put some things in perspective this week, because traveling to California make me think about those main differences between where we were living and now, and also the fact that we are reaching a milestone of being 4 months here in Florida, and seeing the things that we have accomplished and trying to put a positive spin that the things that are taking too long will take this long. It is completely normal. So that's it for this week, guys. As usual, please send me your love and leave me a comment, like, subscribe, share with other people that you know are crazy to move around the world with their dog and their children. And I wish you a fantastic rest of your week. And stay tuned. See you next week. And thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.